contributing to the serious momentum in the New Zealand economy.
Question number 5, the Honourable Judith Collins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, how many ministerial meetings has he had with Stephen Barclay, head of KiwiBuild, and when was the last time he met with Mr Barclay?
The Honourable Phil Twyford.
I've had 20 meetings with officials of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development over the last 6 months, which often included Mr Barclay. There were other meetings outside of regular officials' meetings, which he may have attended to. My office estimates this could be as many as 20 additional meetings. However, my office does not track attendance of all individuals at those meetings. My last meeting with Mr Barclay was on the 12th of November 2018.
What information, if any, has he received as to the reason that Mr Barclay, head of KiwiBuild, is, quote, away from the office, end quote, as stated by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development?
Mr Speaker, given the public interest in this issue, with your permission, I would like to give a slightly longer than normal answer to this question. Stephen Barclay has not resigned as the head of KiwiBuild. There is an ongoing employment issue which I cannot comment on. While he's out of the office, day-to-day support of the KiwiBuild program is being managed by Brad Ward, a member of the senior leadership at the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. However, I can confirm for the member that Mr Barclay's employment matter has nothing to do with his relationship with me or my office. It has nothing to do with the establishment of the new Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, and it has nothing to do with the merits of the KiwiBuild policy. Other than what I have said, it is not in the individual's interest nor the public interest for me to comment further. Responsibility for staff at the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development is a matter for the Chief Executive of that ministry, and it would be inappropriate for me to comment on employment matters. And I can assure the House that the Chief Executive of the ministry is giving this matter priority attention, and the KiwiBuild unit is working incredibly hard to build affordable homes for Kiwi families.
Well, if it's not a matter that the Minister has become involved in, then why did he comment on the 9th of May, quote, great to have someone of Stephen's calibre leaving the KiwiBuild team, end quote?
Well, I think that most people would recognise that publicly welcoming the appointment of a new Chief Executive is quite different from a minister breaking the conventions in the Cabinet Manual and the provisions of the State Sector Act to wade into an employment dispute.
Supplementary.
David Seymour.
Is it not the case that KiwiBuild is such an illogical, confused and contradictory dog's breakfast of a policy that the guy in charge has given up trying to work it out and gone into hiding?
No.
Has he received any advice that Stephen Barclay is still being paid for his time away from the office? And if so, what was that advice?
It's an employment matter, and I have not received any advice of that nature.
Does he believe that New Zealanders deserve to know why Mr Barclay has been away from the office and whether or not Mr Barclay is being paid?
I think New Zealanders deserve a minister that will follow the conventions of the Cabinet Manual and the provisions of the State Sector Act, not wading into an employment dispute. I would have thought the member, who's a former lawyer and a minister, would understand that.
No.
Why then has it taken 6 weeks for him to advise New Zealanders that his head of KiwiBuild is, quote, away from the office, end quote?
Because there's an employment dispute going on that's been dealt with by the Chief Executive of the Ministry.
Question number 6, the Honourable Paul Goldsmith.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Transport.